Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth. Thanks so much for stopping by. It is time for another Friday flip, and this one is number 19. So we're getting through quite a few flips of some of my older journals in this series. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are someone who's been here before, welcome back. So today I'm continuing this series of flipping these journals that were made using cardboard covers for the front and back. Sometimes they have a wallpaper cover and sometimes they don't. And they all have this fabric swatch that I use down the middle. All of these journals have watercolor paper folded in half, and there's 3 signatures bound to the spine. And I've got some beads added to this one as well. Again, anything that goes to the spine gets added at the very end of my journals. So let's do this flip. So this particular one is from 2013. It's kind of fun, as I've been saying during this series, to go back and look at some of the older journals. And again, you know, kind of playing with watercolors, some sketching. I have said this before, if you keep journals and have access to children of any kind, nieces, nephews, your own kids, it's always fun to have them play in journals. And this is a self-portrait done by the younger of my nephews, and you know, just kind of fun. I've talked about this before. Hands, they show up in my journals all the time. I went through this phase where I can see that in this journal in particular, I've got a sketch or an image of some kind, and then there's text in the background. As you can see, I've done several of these, and I kind of like this, and I'm thinking maybe bring them back into my current journals. Again, here's a hand with, you know, these are markers in the background, I believe. Yep, I'm almost positive based on the way that looks that those are markers. So again, you know, images with text in the background, sketches with text. I kind of really like how that looks, and I'd like to bring that back in. Another one of those glue pages that I started and never finished. It's a great way to use up some of the material that's just sitting on your desk. Again, this has got acrylic paint in the background. This is a collage piece that I just doodled over and then have some text. Anytime there are images like this in my journal, it's because I'm listening to an audiobook or a podcast. That's when I tend to do doodles like this, because it's a perfect way to spend some time just doing something with my hands, again, while my brain's engaged in something else. The hand with text, there's an image with the writing in the background again, you know, just watercolors. It's just kind of fun to take a look and see what kinds of things that I enjoyed at that time. So this was a period of time where I was listening to several interviews with sketchbook artists, and I kind of kept track of, you know, as I was watching the videos, and these are on YouTube, and Danny Gregory has them if you want to take a look. I would kind of sketch the people that was doing the interview, and then I would make some notes about what they were saying. Again, kind of like how that looks. Taking a look and just doing some, again, these, it's always interesting when I put what acrylic paints on the background. I don't always know what I'm going to do with them. These can probably be put weeks before I actually get to the page, and it's kind of interesting to see a person when I draw them, and Roz is green in this one. Again, a couple of sketchbook artists whose work I admire. Amanda Palmer, this was while watching a TED Talk that she had done. Playing with just trying to come up with, how would you fill a circle? What kind of patterns could you use? Again, I'm sure I was listening to something at the time. A collage sketch, or a collage that's sketched over, including some of the text that came from that. Images that I see, again, very, very typical, right? Kind of there's a watercolor image and some text in the background. Again, people that I'm watching, in this case, continuing that series of, this is 2013, continuing that series of listening to sketchbook artists and then sketching them as I'm listening to them talk on YouTube, and in some cases tracking, making a note of what color paints they have in their palette when it comes to watercolor. I kind of like this one. It's all done with markers, just like the different effect of that. Again, another hand. Playing with many layers of multimedia here again, just kind of a fun thing. The image on the inside, this pattern is created using one of those henna stencils I've talked about before. I can tell I was going to do some writing here, never got to it, just kind of left it playing again. Many layers on these pages as well. Just kind of fun to see how that turns out. It also gives a nice uneven edge to a page when you do a rough cut. Same image, same idea, an image with some text in the background. I also like this idea of bordering the pages. I've been talking about that during this series, is how I would sometimes have journals where the pages are bordered, and I really like the idea of using collage to create borders as well. Again, same thing, many layers. Everything on this page is all acrylic paints, and this stencil what I use as a stencil for the inside of this particular image is, I think it's an onion bag. Probably. It's a bag that, you can buy onions in, and so you can kind of see how that looks there. This particular stamp is just the cap of something that I know I had in my stash at the time. This is the background here has got acrylic paint over this image of a cartouche that I picked up at the MFA. I think I was planning on doing some sketching on top of that, just never got around to it. Again, hands, listening to podcasts or an audiobook when I'm doing these kinds of doodles. See, I sometimes paint the pages and I never know what happens when I get to them. And I decided not to use these two because I wanted a cohesive one here. So I just love this quote by Katharine Hepburn. If you obey all the rules, you miss all the fun. Really fun. So this is an example of an old style I was using in my journals. Okay, so there's an image from a collage image from a magazine. The background here is a wallpaper sample because I can see the wallpaper in the background. There's gesso over that, and then some stamping. I just like all the layers, and this is kind of one of those fun pages that when I think about this journal, one of the fun pages that I have in here. Again, there's background paper that's got a little bit of a gesso wash to kind of take it to the background, and then some sketching and some writing on top of it. And I think this is kind of the end of my journal. Again, listening to, a podcast. I make a note of that when I'm looking at, when I'm actually keeping track on my journal. I can tell I started to start sticking some collage material down here, and that's the end of this one. So this journal starts in 2013, and let's see, I believe I tend to date these. This one ends in July of 2013, so about 7 months worth. All right. That's what I have for you today. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. If you have links to journals and flips of your own work, I'd love to see them. Leave me a link down below. Take care, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.